It's been almost 60 years since Michigan State won a national championship, so I think it's time that we fix the Spartans. But it won't be easy because I can only recruit players from Michigan and Ohio, and I'm only giving myself 5 seasons to complete 6 challenges, which are take home the Heisman, have a winning record versus rivals Michigan, win a Big Ten championship, sign the #1 prospect from Michigan, win a national championship, and have a top 10 recruiting class only going after players from Michigan and Ohio. When I go through all of that, I realize that we have a lot of work to do in just 5 years. But at least we have some exciting pieces on this roster like Nate Carter and Aiden Childs, our junior quarterback who we'll have for the next 2 seasons. He's one of the few players in this game that has 0 skill cap, so he could max out his accuracies, he could max out throw power, even his speed could go up to 99s. But just keeping it realistic, that's probably not going to happen. These are some of the players I've been able to find in the states of Michigan and Ohio so far, which is great and all, but we can't go after the #1 prospect from Michigan, which is the first challenge I was hoping to complete because he's not interested in our school due to pro potential. Over time, though, our goal is to get there. Shelley would be an amazing running back coming in with 93 speed. We also have some fast receivers on our board between Sharp, Drake, and also Westfall. But we're not just going after 4 stars. I found a couple gems at linebacker, these 3 stars that we need to get. And then finally, I'll mention quarterback Russell Bettino just because he is the only 4-star quarterback from the States. I was hoping that Michigan or Ohio would have more to offer at that position, but that wasn't the case. There were some other 4 stars from Ohio, but once again, we're running into that issue where we just can't get them to come to our school. And the only way that we can convince them to consider us is if we start to win a lot. Fortunately, we're going to open up the season with a win over an FCS school. It would have been a real problem if we lost that game. Looking at the rest of our schedule, though, I'm not sure what record we're going to finish with, and I can only hop into 3 regular season games a year, which means I have to be very careful with the ones that we play. I figured we'd take down Western Michigan, which is why I simmed this one, but we had to score 18 points in the 4th quarter to beat them by 1. And I'm relieved we signed our first receiver, Tavares Sharp, because he is 96 speed, but we still have some other battles that we're going to have to close out in the coming weeks, especially on some of these gyms where other schools seem to be pulling ahead. The only solution I can even think of is scheduling them for visits before they go to somewhere else. And what this means is we're going to hop into our first game next week against UCLA. We are going to be 2-1 going into it though, because Boston College just beat us by 21. And I know we won our first couple of games, but things aren't looking too great. After we play this one, I'll show you all the receiving core that we're working with, which certainly does not help Aiden Childs, neither does our offensive line. On our first drive with the Spartans, we're just going to have to settle for a field goal. But at least we have Nate Carter at running back as well, because he's been helping us move it. And I think near the end of the first quarter, we're going to go up 10-0. Throughout this matchup, I have continued to lean on Nate Carter. He's helped us move the chains right here. We're up 17-6 at the end. And the longer that this drive goes on for, the worse that it's looking for the Bruins. We could close out this game with a touchdown right here. The pass is perfectly on the money. And at least we're going to impress all of those visiting recruits. My main takeaway from this game is our defense is going to be our strongest unit this season. There's another turnover. And this feels like a great way to bounce back after we just lost to Boston College by 21. It's also nice to know that we have another season with Aiden Childs after this one, where I'm hoping I can get him some better receiving targets than just Nick Marsh, because this is a really rough room. It turns out that's not going to be a problem at all. We have signed these 3 4-star receivers from Michigan and Ohio. We also jumped up out of nowhere to a lead on Shelley. And that's with the workhorse pitch where our school grades are not the best, and that's going to cause us to lose out on Clausen and Notre Dame. Following our big win over the Bruins, though, we're playing another team from Los Angeles, this time on the road. And since we have a chance to pull off an upset against a top 25 team, I want to hop into this one as well. It hasn't exactly been the best of starts, going down 17-0, which is why we really need to find a way to score on this 3rd and 9. That ball might have been placed too far behind him though. I was hoping that Aiden Childs could put that in a different part of the end zone, but he couldn't make the back shoulder throw, and against our defense, Zachariah Branch is so fast. We have literally just not been able to contain him, though we had a touchdown right there. And I have to have some faith that we could pull off this upset, though we're going to need a big play on 3rd and 10, and we get it. As we approach the end of this first half, Aiden Childs is trying his best to keep us in it. That ball needed to be caught. And I think you can see what we're working with this season that's going to make it so difficult, though I shouldn't have put that pass there. My reads certainly don't help us. I have a feeling that against rivals Michigan, we're going to struggle, which is exactly why we need to keep on bringing in these 4 stars. Although we signed Ciante Shelley, though, I think we're going to lose out on Corin Cook. We were so close to getting him to commit. And like I predicted, we lost out on the battle with Clausen. You're going to see more 3 stars and a couple 4 stars we're trying to salvage left on our board, but mainly 3 stars. We've got to sign sign a big class. In these 5-year rebuilds, the first couple ones are so important, Iowa's probably going to beat us on the road. But even if they do, I don't care because Corin Cook, the 4-star free safety Jim, chose Michigan State. We even beat the Hawkeyes 31-17, but Indiana got their first win against us a week after by more than doubling the score, and now we have to face 2 top 5 teams back to back. It also really stinks, but when going after some of these 4-star defensive linemen, the last ones on our board, they chose other Big Ten schools. And I think we all know what's going to happen against number 2 Penn State. What I really don't like though is to see that Aiden Childs is considering transferring out, to see a lot of these other players would also want to leave us just because we're not doing as well as we should. Which is why if we want to turn things around, we need to somehow pull off this upset against the Wolverines. This is going to be extremely challenging to do, but one of our 6 challenges in this rebuild is to have a winning record versus them. And it would be really nice if we could go up 1-0 here. To end the first quarter though, they're up 7-0. They've already gotten their touchdown. I'm hoping that we can get ours on this drive. But either way, it's going to be a long game. We are having to fight for every last yard. Nate Carter has a lane to get us the first, but he still had to get another yard on the next play, and we're running back that same one, which gets us in. The real problem comes out whenever I have to drop back and throw the football. I don't think there's a chance we make this catch. But for a freshman receiver, Austin Clay has caught me completely off guard. Even with a couple really good plays in this first half though, we're going to find ourselves down 14-17. And that's because the Wolverines just keep on scoring. Aiden Childs able to escape the pressure for a second. But I don't see how we're going to come out on top of this game the longer that it goes on for. Whatever happens on 3rd and 15, we simply cannot take a sack. That's not going to be held on to. And we're looking to tie things up going into halftime, but I'm going to shank this kick. To make things even worse, look who's in at quarterback for us in the 4th quarter. It's not Aiden Childs. He tore his labrum, so he's definitely out for the rest of this game, probably for multiple weeks after this. And we might just have to finish this entire season with a backup at QB. Nate Carter's experiencing so much wear and tear that we're going to have to throw the football with him as well. But we're going back to the run on 3rd and 3, and Nate Carter's getting into the end zone. We have a 1-point lead with about 8 minutes left, and there is no reason that we should be in this game. On 3rd down, we should have had the interception. That would have put us in great field positioning. I mean, we could still have a successful drive, but I feel like whenever it comes to running the football, we're going to struggle. It's really just going to be about taking those drag routes and hoping that they're able to get open so we can move the chains. And we've been able to take this clock almost down to the 2-minute warning, but we need to get the first down. However, apparently we were marked short, which means this is why we have a fullback, so he can pick up stuff like this and he breaks the tackle. Now you know that Michigan's panicking because we almost have this one won, but they still have a timeout, so we can't run out the rest of this clock, and I needed more speed there. Here we go. It is 3rd and 5. If we find a way to pick this one up, which I'm hoping we can just hang on to the ball, this game is over, and we're going to upset number 4 Michigan. I told you, we had to go all out to get that Paul Bunyan trophy. Even with a backup quarterback, that did not stop us from beating our rivals. And we're going to miss Nate Carter greatly next season. We might not be able to complete any challenge in season number 1, but we're making progress on that first one. And it turns out we have room for one more 4-star on this roster. In total, we're going to bring in 8 of them alongside hopefully like 25 3-stars. We have a lot of work to do in that department still. And I know we're not going to finish with a top 10 class this year, but I think completing that challenge will be possible. Our recruiting class ranking will just continue to drop. Aiden Childs is out for the last 3 weeks of the season. And this is a big problem because I want to become bowl eligible, but we still have to win one more matchup. It's not going to happen against Nebraska. We lose by 6. We still have to face Minnesota and Maryland though. And I know the Gophers have the home field advantage, but their overall is very similar to ours. We ended up coming out on top. You can see our championship contender rows. We're sitting at 6 and 5, but all these players still want to transfer away from the Spartans. And it really doesn't feel good to know that. To end season number 1, Maryland beat us by 21, but there's that win over the Gophers, 32-28. And it's not like our backup had himself a good game, but we had Nate Carter to lean on, and then our backup running back scoring 2 touchdowns. Brandon Tulis is the future at that position next season. I think he's actually a bit faster than Nate Carter, 92 speed. And statistically, he had 8 touchdowns, which is just as many as Nate did this year. On the passing side of things, Aiden Childs didn't turn the ball over that much, but we also didn't throw for as many yards as I would have hoped. A tight end was 2nd in receiving yards. And when it came to the final standings in our conference, you're going to see that we had 4 of the top 8 teams in the country. Penn State went undefeated, and we were about mid-table. Not the worst season ever, that's for sure. I'm hoping that we still make it to a bowl game. That's all that I want. We've gotten Cincinnati, a top 25 team. And I'm not sure I've talked much about our coordinators. They have a pretty similar build, and then at head coach with Jonathan Smith, this is what he has. Strategist is one of those trees I normally don't go down, but it probably helped us sign those receivers and quarterbacks. And it doesn't hurt for those positions that he is tier 3, always be Cruton unlocked as well. Then in the tactician tree, we have scheme Team Guru, some of these stat boosts are helpful, but we also have additional stuff down here. And my favorite is this fast tempo offense. If we spent 8 coach points, we could get tier 4 tipped your hand, which gives us a chance to see the defense's coverage if we're in hurry up. I'm strongly considering exploring that in the future. We only average 22 points per game though. I'm not sure how we're going to do against the Bearcats. But even if we don't beat them, making it to a bowl game is a win in itself. But before we hop into that game, football might be over, but there's still basketball, baseball, and hockey to watch, which is why I got the perfect hookup for you, SeatGeek, today's video sponsor. Everyone can use my code Bordeaux10 and get 10% off any tickets on SeatGeek, whether you're a new customer or not. And they can literally be used for anything. They have sports, concerts, festivals. If you can name it, they have it. For example, I want to get out to a Tampa Bay Lightning game. And since SeatGeek rates on a scale from 1 to 10, I have to look for the green dots because green dots mean good while red dots mean bad. Also, no matter how many times you've bought tickets with SeatGeek before, code Bordeaux10 is going to get you 10% off your next order. So take out your phone, open up the SeatGeek app, and add code Bordeaux10 to your account. What are you waiting for? I'd do it now because this offer is only available for a limited time, but now we can resume the rest of this video. I think this game could have gone a lot differently if Nate Carter didn't take it off just so he could make sure he was healthy for the NFL draft. He didn't want to risk injury, which is understandable, but it's hurt our offense as we've scored no points. It doesn't feel good to be held to a scoreless game against Cincinnati, but that just shows that we're nowhere near ready to compete for a college football playoff spot. And I was really hopeful that less players would try and enter the transfer portal on us, but we have 6 chances to persuade him to come back, and I'm probably just going to use it on the guys with the high and medium chances. It really doesn't seem to make much of a difference though. We're losing our backup quarterback because he doesn't like our coach Prestige. We're 50-50 at the moment. We might as well shoot for the stars, go after these 84 overalls that want to leave Michigan State, and they're both gone. I have a bad feeling that next season without Nate Carter, we're going to take a step back. But just the fact that he got drafted and so did Wayne Matthews III means our pro potential should rise. That should help us in recruiting. If we take a look at our board right now in the transfer portal, there's one player from Ohio or Michigan we can go after that's actually talented. And that works out perfectly for us because we still have a lot of other 3-stars we need to sign. If we're going to land Nichols though, we're going to have to take a complete guess on his hard sell. I'm just going to have to go with this one because it fits playing time and playing style. And because that was his deal breaker, that was the only one that I knew was for sure a lock, but judging off of how much interest we had, I guessed correctly. That's a huge moment in recruiting for us. We wouldn't have gotten this guy otherwise. And we just threw together a full class of 35 players only using the states of Ohio and Michigan. When it comes to some of their development traits, I swear I've seen like 10 stars. Our quarterback that we've recruited, the 4-star, is only impact, but it's okay. We have a receiver that has elite development, one with star, and then running back Shelley has elite dev too. Our class might not finish inside the top 10. We're gonna have to sign a 5-star to make that happen, but it will be number 17. And whenever it comes to player progression, I have to admit, I'm a bit disappointed. Aiden Childs overall didn't go up anymore, but he should still have a good year, and to make sure that some of these true freshmen start, I'm gonna encourage any seniors that are low overalls to transfer. My hope is with 32 team needs, it'll also make players want to come here more because of playing time, which could be super helpful. And it'd be nice if we could get that challenge of signing the #1 prospect from Michigan crossed off of our board this year. It's going to be a quarterback, Daniel Ballage, who we could definitely get. He isn't the only player that I want though. We're actually going to start spending our first coach points. I got to get tier 3 always be recruiting for our defensive backs. And the reason for that is if we go over to the recruiting board, you're going to see a free safety 4-star, 2 4-star corners, and then this 5-star strong safety. We needed to put more hours into them, but I'm disappointed with Daniel Ballage. The highest rated prospect in Michigan is a bust. His stats don't look the best either. But we still need to try and sign him to complete one of our challenges, and this is a hard start to the season. After we face Notre Dame though, we have a couple weeks off, then we play back-to-back MAC schools before Big Ten conference play really starts for us. And that's why if we could somehow upset the Irish on the road, we could get off to an incredible start. Now you have to keep in mind that even though we lost a lot of our roster, we also brought in receivers to make our receiving core better. So I was hoping this game would go a little bit differently, but our defense hasn't been able to get a single stop. We haven't been able to score either though, which is why we're going for it on 4th and 10. I think that's enough. And I'm trying my best to end this first half strong. Aiden Childs puts it in a great spot. No matter what we do on offense though, our defense simply is not built for this. We're going to hold them in the red zone for the first time. But I really don't see us pulling off a 21-point comeback in the 4th quarter, and we had him. I needed half a second longer right there. We're going to try and scramble for the first. But this game just didn't go how we wanted it to. We got embarrassed. We could be in for a really long season. I'm just hoping that we don't lose to Eastern Michigan. But even if we took them down 41-24, I have some bad news. On the recruiting side of things, some of these defensive backs, including the 5-star strong safety, are considering our school because of playing style, so they have locked us out because we've fallen behind that threshold. And I just have to hope that a win over Toledo can fix that. Well, considering I'm able to put points into both of them again, I'm pretty sure that we won that game against the Rockets. pockets, I'm going to spend extra hours scheduling him for a visit because if we could get this 5-star, that'd be huge. But he needs to commit before week 7 because we're not going to beat number 5 Oregon. I think it's worth it to play against Washington. And the only reason for that is I scheduled some of the other prospects on our board for this game whenever they were ranked higher. They're now a pretty similar overall to us, plus they've fallen off quite a bit. And I'm determined to make sure that this one goes way differently than whenever we played against Notre Dame. We've already been able to take a 14-0 lead, and I don't think this one's going to get any better for the Huskies. Our freshman running back is just quick enough to get that edge. Plus, since switching to a 3-3-5 type playbook, our defense has actually been able to show up in this game. If we can get them off the field on this 4th and 4, it's going to be over. I can see that they're going to try and scramble, but we weren't going to let them get away with that, and of course we closed it out. That's going to lead to us signing some of those 4-stars that we had on a visit, and I think we're going to land some of these other prospects as we advance farther into the year. For whatever reason though, Northwestern of all schools is undefeated at 5-0, but whether they beat us or not doesn't really matter because we signed the 5-star strong safety. Not everything's working out the way that I was hoping it would in recruiting though, because we lost this 4-star cornerback to Kentucky, and then we're also going to lose out on this guy because we broke the deal breaker. This is why I hate going after players that value playing style as their deal breaker, because as you can see, we don't have enough interceptions to keep those guys around. So even if our board looks really good from the start, I have a feeling that this isn't going to be the only decommitment. We're also going to lose our 5-star strong safety, and there's not much I can do about it. It's so weird we're dealing with that as a problem as well, because even though we lost to Northwestern, we upset Oregon, we also beat UCLA, so we're sitting at 5-2. And for a split second, I might even think we have a shot at making it to the Big Ten Conference Championship, but we're probably going to lose next week. Number 5 Nebraska is not going to be a team that's easy to take down, and we're going to end up losing to them 31-17. We're also out of visits that we can schedule, so we're probably going to get some of these 3-stars just ripped away from us, and I guess we'll see how we finish out the rest of this year. Making it to a bowl game again would be nice, and we just clinched that by beating Illinois by 16. But it'd be even better if we could beat the Wolverines 2 seasons in a row. This time we have to play them at the Big House, but we also have better receivers, and that makes a big difference offensively. We've already scored 7, we're going for 14, which would be a perfect first quarter against Michigan, and I think we're going to get it. Ever since that moment though, they've played much better. I'm hoping they don't get into the end zone on this 3rd and goal. We need our pressure to get in at some point. They had all the time in the world back there. He's still standing, and I'm hoping that they don't hit this field goal, but they're going to. They've kind of figured us out, which is not a good thing. This is a 3rd and 2 we can't be short on. And even though we're going to go for it because I can't give them the ball. Just like last year, we're trying to protect our lead at the very end. He caught up to him. I didn't think he would. And even though I was making such a simple read, I might have sold this game. After getting that stop though, we got the ball back. They have us on a 3rd down. And please do not drop it. There's a lot of pressure on us to close this one out right now. Our blocks are looking good for Tulis to get himself 6. But he's no Nate Carter. He got us to a 3rd and 8 where I'm throwing it straight at Michigan again. I needed to be more patient. If I had another second back there, we could have completed that easily. I tried to throw it prematurely, and that's because I knew there wouldn't be much time in the pocket. I am single-handedly costing us this game right now, though. They can't get anything on this 3rd and 7. Of course they had enough time to, and I don't know what else we can do. We're sending 4 players at them. Everything is boxed up, which means they have to throw it away. This is a huge 4th and 10. What did I say about our defense needing to help us win a lot of games this season? I might have given this up at the last second, and I think they're going to be able to get into the end zone from here. We cannot let them do that. We forced the fumble. That still wasn't enough, though. Play action's not going to fake me out. We know that they're throwing the ball in this situation. Check down gets them like 4. And I'm hoping that they don't get anything more right here. They've thrown it towards the back of the end zone. There's no way he got a foot in. They're celebrating like that was somehow a catch. It was impressive, but I am pretty confident that after challenging this play, it's not going to count. We can't really tell from this angle thanks to the instant replay. I swear that whenever you challenge something on this game, you never get a good angle of it, but look at this. His foot was out. Don't get me wrong, it's a pretty close call, but one part of his cleat was on the white, and I wasn't sure if the refs would make the right decision, but they did. So Michigan needs to score right here, and they did exactly what I've done throughout this entire game. Throw it straight to the linebacker lurking, and we can even return it. We're going to be able to celebrate, rubbing it in their faces. These fans have to be ticked. I never thought we'd go 2-0 versus Michigan in our first 2 seasons, but if we can just beat them one more time in this rebuild, we're going to be over 500 against them, completing the first challenge. Though it might have slipped my mind that signing the number 1 prospect from Michigan, Daniel Ballage, already completed one. As of right now, things are looking pretty good, though the Heisman Trophy one's going to be difficult, and that's because of all the freshman quarterbacks that we brought in. I'm not really a fan of any of them. them. Their skill caps are going to limit all of their accuracies. We'll probably always roll with the 4-star. But if we can't be a part of the Heisman Trophy race with Aiden Childs, then it's not going to happen with one of those kids. At least we find ourselves inside the top 20 though. We have been ranked for the first time. And if we can somehow win out, there's a chance we make it to the conference championship. That is much easier said than done though. Now I regret hopping into that matchup against Notre Dame. But I guess it doesn't really matter since Wisconsin beat us by 17. In the same week, we're also going to be locked out from the 5-star strong safety. The playing style deal breaker is so dumb. But it's hard to be upset for very long because this is a much better finish than what we had last year. Now I am going to fire both of our coordinators still just because they're not tacticians. We're going to need that to win a championship. But they did well for us. Clemson's quarterback won a Heisman Trophy just like last year. Our bowl game is going to be against Virginia Tech. And the Holiday Bowl takes place in San Diego, which is a long way for both of these fan bases to travel. Most of my focus is just going to go towards finding those coordinators I want. This is the perfect build. And I'm glad that there were so many options for me to go between. I could have gotten recruiters, motivators, but at the end of the day, it always needs to be a tactician. We have now figured out our coaching staff for next year, but we still have one more game that we have to worry about. We didn't score in our bowl game last season. Even if we don't win this one, we are not going to get embarrassed like that. We have already gotten 7. There's another. But if we can't prevent them from getting into the end zone on this 3rd and goal, all of that effort's not going to matter. They've taken their 2-possession lead. We have got to score a touchdown basically on this play or it's over. Aiden Childs underthrows what could have been a touchdown, and he's going to end his career with Michigan State never winning a bowl game. That has to be disappointing for him. Texas A&M won the national championship, and I'm really wondering where Aiden's going to get drafted. He had 14 interceptions this year, only 24 touchdowns. From a rushing side, he didn't have that many yards either, and our number 1 receiver was the freshman that has elite development. Tavares Sharp is only going to get better from here on out. I mean, his route running is uncapped, his catching stats uncapped, and of all the players leaving our team, there is one player that we brought in through the transfer portal still trying to get out. He is not coming back. I can't believe how many defensive backs just don't want to be a part of the Spartans roster. We're going to have to go after this 2-star transfer. Here's another one we can go after since he's from Michigan. And outside of them, I don't think we should be in this many competitive battles for 3 stars to end the year. It's hard to believe that we were better on the field but struggled more with recruiting. But thankfully, we finished strong, signing everybody that was left remaining on our board. Unfortunately, though, we found no players with elite development this year, mainly just a bunch of impact. And I know this class is going to be rated below the last one. I just didn't think it'd be down at 32. Now, one of my favorite discoveries in this game is if you move over a fast tight end to lineman for a year or two, it's going to develop their blocking skills. So that's what we're doing with Zach. And as you can see, he went from like a 37 overall to a 73. We'll move him back to tight end next year. We're an 84 overall just like last season, but I think this team's even better. I mean, our quarterback room is where we knew we wouldn't be the best, but we have a few freshmen that we can choose between to start. Our receivers are also progressing like George Drake. And starting inside the top 25, if there was any season for us to go for that top 10 class challenge, I think it's this one. But the real question was always going to be, how many 4 and 5 stars would we get out of Michigan and Ohio? And I think this is the best draw that we've had so far, as we have 5 stars from both states and plenty of 4 stars. When it comes to those 2 5 stars, one of them is a gym receiver, 94 speed, takeoff, shifty his abilities. I would love to land Matt Ivory, but we can only put 50 points on the linebacker. And this is where I'm going to spend some of our coach points in the recruiter skill tree. We have to go all the way down to tier 3 to have a chance at signing that other 5-star. I also want to be able to put more points on offensive linemen. And my hope with that is we're able to sign a top 10 class, though it's not going to be easy. We're going to be in a lot of battles whenever it comes to recruiting. And our schedule's not doing us any favors either. We have to play number 15 Oklahoma first, then we have Wisconsin, Notre Dame on here, so 3 of our first 4 games are tough. And with his only 74 throw under pressure, I don't think we can start junior Rylan Jesse at quarterback. I said we were going to roll with one of the freshmen, and that's what we're doing. Whenever it comes to my favorite right now, it's got to be 6'4", former 4-star freshman Russell Bitinho. He has better accuracy than anyone else, which we're going to need if we're going to beat the Sooners. It's a kickoff classic game, so neither of us get to play this one at home. And we're going to start this game being aggressive. We have it on a 4th and 2 where we're just going to hand this ball off and hopefully fight our way in. Tullis is a senior now. He has to be able to make plays like that. But that's the only good thing our offense has done in this game. I'm about to just start sending up 50-50 balls, hoping that we can catch them. But that hasn't really worked for us either. I'm not happy about the position that we're in, but we're not out of it with 7 minutes left. Russell Bitanio's thrown 3 interceptions in his debut, but at least he got his first touchdown there, and the 2-point conversion also goes in. After that, we're really just trying to get the ball back. And did they just quarterback sneak it on a 3rd and 12? That was the weirdest play call I think I've ever seen. Either way, not all hope is lost for us yet, though we're going to need this pass to go right over that corner. And the impressive thing is the ball got there, but it went through our hands. This 4th and 8 is basically it. We need to pick this up to keep our hopes alive, and I think they're going to get a hand on that one for sure. So it's all about hoping that they aren't going to run for a first down now. They could have missed a field goal still. We simply didn't deserve to win that game. It took our offense way too long to get things going after the first tutty. But that's considered a quality loss, so we're not going to fall like anywhere in the polls. And then the next week against Central Michigan, we're going to bounce back, but only by 3. The following week against Wisconsin, though, is where things get interesting. This is the team that beat us to ruin our playoff hopes last season. And I figured this is what was going to happen. I just didn't think we'd only score 10 points in an overtime matchup. Since we have to play number 9 Notre Dame next, I think things are only getting worse. And I can't even say it's looking up after this, because if we don't beat Rutgers or Purdue, we're in a lot of trouble. We play Penn State, Ohio State, and Michigan in a 4-week time span, which means if we lose one of our easier games like this one, we're not going to be bowl eligible. What we are going to have, though, is our first 5-star signing, right outside linebacker Jaquez Britt. And in the same week, 5-star Matt Ivory also committed. There's no question that with making these 8 signings, it's the best week we've had in recruiting this entire rebuild. And we are on pace to sign that top 10 class from just Ohio and Michigan, though we still need to get some of these last prospects that are 4 stars on our board, which could be possible. We're also going to need some 3 stars, so I'll look for about 9 of them. And just like we handled Rutgers 39-20, we better do the same against Purdue. The only thing about them that scares me a tad bit is we're sending a freshman into a road environment. But we're talking about Purdue here. We weren't going to lose this game. That's going to get us ranked again inside the top 25, but it shouldn't last for very long, because coming up on our schedule, we're going to have to play at number 15 Penn State. I'm hoping that we're at least able to make this game competitive. It's all that I want. But in order to do so, we had to score a lot of points, and at the moment, we only have 7. We need to hang on here. It'll keep us in the game for a little bit longer, but if we don't finish off this drive with a touchdown, we're in a lot of trouble. I'm just going to roll out, throw this one up, and it's short. What I'm starting to realize is Batonio's not going to be a quarterback that's going to win us the Heisman. At least it doesn't seem like it right now, though you never know. He might take some major strides forward in player progression. He's made a couple good throws in this game. He just hasn't played that well. I think we're about to get it back within 14. But if we're going to pull off this comeback, we have a lot of work to do. In fact, it's worse than I thought, because I remembered we were down by 3 possessions. I just didn't remember that we had to get a 2-point conversion every time. So we were down by 18 points, not 14, and a comeback's not happening. It really stinks, but we're not on the level of Penn State yet. And that means we're also not on the level of Ohio State, so we're about to fall to 3-5. That's actually really scary, because it means we're going to have deal breakers for championship contenders, we're going to get locked out of prospects, and there's a chance that some of these guys that have committed that care about championship contender could decommit. If we can just beat Northwestern, though, I think it'll all go back to how it should be. And you all already know what the final game I'm going to hop into this season has to be. Against number 1 Michigan, it couldn't be any other way. They're undefeated. They're having a great year, but we have not lost to them in this video yet. And I have the final 4-star on our board on a visit this week, which we're going to need because we did lose one of these guys. He's flipping to Michigan. It feels like every season this becomes a must-win game. And this one's no different, but it's okay. We can pull it off. We've already been able to make it down to their 20-yard line. We're going to take a sack on 3rd down, though. And I was really hoping we started this game up 7-0, but it's just going to be 3. That's definitely not going to last for us, which is why we've got to finish off this drive. And it might not be the smartest thing to hurry this up, to go for it on 4th down because I thought we were short. We might have lucked out there, but there's still a long game ahead of us. On 3rd down, we're able to move the chains with Clay. And now that we have a 1st and goal down on the goal line, we'll throw it to our tight end. The 2-point conversion is also important. Brandon Tulis is going to get this pitch with a ton of space. And we even got a safety against them, but it wasn't enough to get us the lead. We need to catch this touchdown, and we do. What an incredible play from the senior receiver to come back and get that ball. And I might just have to look back in Nick Marsh's direction on this one, though they weren't on the same page. This is a team that I thought we were going to struggle to beat throughout this rebuild, but once again, we find ourselves in a very favorable position. And if there was any year where I was confident we could run out the rest of the clock, it'd be this one. This is the best our offensive line has ever been. We're also using some RPOs. And with no interceptions in this game, Batonio has done his job. On 3rd and 4, Shelley isn't fast enough. But if we hit this kick, we're still going up by 8 points, and the meter is moving very quick, so we're going to shank it. This is not the spot that I wanted to be in. Though they've thrown the ball straight to our linebacker, we've been able to lurk Michigan. And it looks like 3 years in a row, we're going to make sure that they're our little brother. I already know exactly how we can seal this one. I'm sure they're going to run commit. We're just going to throw it up to Marsh, and they still got back to the ball. Without one more 1st down, this one's not over. Once again, they have 2 guys on it. But here's the thing. Michigan has no timeouts left, and if they take a sack, this one's over. They have to throw it away. I feel like there have been multiple times where I've tried to give them the win, and they just don't want to take it from us. We'll see where they go here. But that didn't really work out out for them either. Most likely, they're going to be throwing up one final Hail Mary. And if we lost here, the only other rivalry ending in this game that'd be worse than this is whenever the punt got blocked, we just got to swat this one down, and we do. There it is. We've now completed our second challenge in this video. And there's no reason this should be done by season number 3, but we're going to have a winning record versus the Wolverines. It's going to be the reason that Shane Mixon, the final 4-star, commits. And we're going to be bowl eligible as long as we take down the Hoosiers. With Austin Clay going for 173 yards, 4 touchdowns, I'm sure that we did. And we even beat Washington, who was ranked number 12 at the time, on the road by 2. That's going to help us finish at 6-3 in the Big Ten, just like last season, though we're lower down the table. And we can't seem to escape playing Power 4 opponents in our bowl game. Luckily for us, though, this one's at Ford Field, so it's a lot closer to home. And maybe this will be the year where we can finally do something in the postseason. In this era of college football, a bowl win doesn't mean that much for a program, but just the way that we're playing compared to the past 2 years really sets the tone for next year. We were able to score 38 points while they only got on the board with a field goal. So it might not have come in the playoffs, but we've gotten our first postseason win. Russell Batonio also had a better season than Aiden Childs ever did. 27 touchdowns to 7 interceptions. From the rushing side of things, Brandon Toulis, the senior, is now gone. And George Drake was 9 yards short of being a 1,000-yard receiver. Austin Clay was number 2, and Nick Marsh, our senior, was number 3. Each year this rebuild, we end up losing some good talent to graduation or the NFL. Brandon Toulis is gone. Nick Marsh is going to be drafted in the 7th round, and then we had this guard in the 2nd. But we only lost a few really good players. It's nothing we can't bounce back from. I should also say, going into the transfer portal period, we have the number 3 class. All we have to do is maintain it in the top 10. And there's no reason for us to go after any transfers. 1, because we don't need them, and 2, the only ones interested are 2-stars. I don't think we're ever going to sign a higher ranked class than this one, so it's this or nothing. I'm about to start going through player dev traits. And on the receiving side, we're going to have so many guys with elite dev. Randy Beckman is one of them. I'm hoping for some more elite devs as we scroll. Archer Short, another one. Are we going to have a third? We aren't. It's actually really disappointing that 5-star receiver Matt Ivory only had impact development, but we got star on Joe Tobias. And that means the 10th highest ranked player in this class could be our future quarterback. You never know. Our actual class ranking, though, is top 10. It's at number 6. In these final 2 years, we really don't have that much left. We need to win a Big Ten championship, win a national championship, and somehow win a Heisman Trophy. But I'd like to think that it's possible. Zach Avant was the guy we moved over from tight end to left tackle. Now when he goes back, he's an 84. But that still might not be enough to make him the starter because there's somebody above him, Ben Brown. With player progression, it looks like Ben Brown's going to be the higher overall, though I'm worried that Tavares Sharp's going to declare early for the NFL draft. He's a 92 without any tactician boosts, and I want to have him around for season number 5. I just don't think it's going to be possible. He just had a huge jump in overall. We also have 45 coach points to spend, so we should probably make sure our quarterback accuracies are as good as possible. Our offensive line can block to the best of their abilities. And for the first time, instead of going down this hurry up fast tempo offense tree, I want to go down the pass game offense tree where we're going down to tier 3, which is going to give us an increased catchability for passes anywhere on the field. I've never done that before, and I neglected filling out our defensive tactician tree, so the coordinators are going to have to pick up the slack. And just checking our schedule for this next season, I'm relieved we don't have to play Notre Dame again, but we have to deal with multiple good Big Ten opponents, especially to finish the year. All of them are top 6 teams. At least we've already taken care of recruiting, so there's not much for us to do here. I'm going to go after a couple 5-stars, but that's it. I've signed basically everybody I want to for next year's team. And we're going to have some serious issues if we lose any of our first 3 games. Like expected throughout this stretch, we went 3-0, though Georgia State kept it closer than I would have liked. And I've already had both of these 5-stars on a visit during a bye week. Neither of them have committed yet, but they're pretty close. Coming up on our schedule, we have 2-1 Purdue coming to our stadium. We should be able to beat them. And there it is, our first 5-star commitment. Just like last year, we're getting 2 of them. That is where the good news is going to end for us, though. We lost by 1 point to the Boilermakers, which means now we have to bounce back against USC or Penn State. And I might just decide to hop into both of these games. I should have never made fun of Purdue football earlier on in this video. It's karma. It's the only way that they would ever beat us. And just based off of the way that we've opened up this game, I'm struggling to see how that could even be possible. Remember, in the tactician tree, I upgraded our catching so we can catch everything. And it's been extremely useful for us, because if I see a scenario where we could just throw it up, I'm going to do so. We're about to go up 21-0 against USC, rolling out right here on the run. We're throwing this over to Sharp. And that's what it takes for our catching to not work the way that it should. I'm actually surprised that our best receiver couldn't bring it in. But it's okay. With the way that we started this game, we were never going to lose it, and that's got to be a touchdown. You know what? Maybe even this year, we could see ourselves in the Heisman running. And that's because Russell Batonio torched the Trojans defense. Now, I know that's nothing special. Most of the time, teams do that against them. But my expectations for him this season, especially after that loss to Purdue, were much lower. It's nice to see see his accuracy is already maxed out. Don't get me wrong, I wish they could go up a little bit more, but it's as good as it's going to get for us. We're going to sim against Penn State. And my reasoning for that, even though we lost by 3, is I know we have a really tough finish to this season. We basically just have to sim to the final few games of the year. But by the time that we get there, Michigan's not ranked, Iowa's not ranked, and Oregon's at number 13, so it would have been nice to face the Nittany Lions. To be fair though, after beating us, they've also fallen off of a cliff, sitting at 5-4. We're near the top of the conference standings. Purdue is up here with us. And we've played Michigan so many years in a row, but it feels like another time we have to face them. This could be a part of our Heisman journey. We're ranked number 4 in the country. Russell Bitonio is number 2 in the race. And a standout performance here would probably do him a ton of good. It's really weird how lopsided this rivalry's been throughout this rebuild, but now they have it close. And if there was any season where we should demolish them, it would probably be this one. At least we're about to take a lead on them. We just have to finish off this drive. There was some PI there, but I don't think we're going to get any calls like that on the road, and we're going to have to tie it up. I just want to have a huge game, but with the rain, without the ability to hot route because of the home field advantage, it's much harder to throw balls up like this. Though if I call a play where we have some streaks out there, we can still get it done. They're running with our drags. So for the second time today, we could get held to a field goal, but I'm not okay with that. Tavares Sharp was never going to drop that football. I'm also expecting him to beat the press here. And this is what it feels like to have one of the best receivers in the country. The longer this game's gone on for, the worse that it's going to be looking for Michigan. I'm hoping that we can finish it off with one final touchdown, because that would greatly help us in the Heisman race, and I think we're going to get it. Russell Bitonio might have just shot up to number 1 in the odds, especially since this is the second time this year he's had 6 touchdowns in a game. Now I'm going to have to trust this team to win in sim against Iowa, because we have to play our final game against Oregon. But it didn't go our way. We gave up 42 points to the Hawkeyes, and now we have to face the Ducks. I was really hopeful that we could make it to the Big Ten championship, but we're going to finish with 3 losses minimum again. But it's pretty understandable. This team isn't exactly where I want it to be yet. If we want to see ourselves in the college football playoffs, though, we can't lose this game. And at the moment, that's exactly what we're on pace to do. We haven't been able to score that many points. It looks like next year is going to be our hope for winning the Heisman Trophy, for going for a championship. But I guess this one's not over yet, so you can't count us out. For the 2-point conversion, I'm just going to hand it off and hope that we get it within 3. And then it's all about getting them off of the field, ideally out of field goal range, so we're sending in a blitz a 7 and they can't escape. They have a hard kick to attempt to start the 4th. But knowing the computer, they're about to hit a 55-yarder with ease. We continue to lose yards as well, which means I'm simply throwing this ball up on 3rd and 16, hoping that we somehow catch it. But we didn't. They got themselves another field goal, and we are in a terrible spot in this game unless they aren't able to press right here, which they weren't. Tavares Sharp said he doesn't want our season to end in Autzen Stadium. And just seeing how things are unfolding, it might not. We can't let them pick up the 3rd and 16. They weren't. Plus, we had a great punt return, which means this drive is starting in an ideal spot. We're just going to go up and catch this. If we can get them off the field for this 4th and 10 too, this one is going to be over. Way too much time back there in the pocket though, and we're still going to be able to pick them off with Bland. Now here's the thing, it's not the most sportsmanlike thing to do in the world, but I'm trying to run up this score since we're in a Heisman Trophy race. And Bitonio should have been able to pick up a touchdown right there, but he wasn't able to. On 3rd and 10, we're not getting out. So what I just realized is they're going to have a chance to respond if we don't get this 4th and 10, but we do. I don't know how it slipped my mind that we were only up by 5, but it doesn't matter. They ran commit and we got to pad our stats. I think Russell Bitonio is actually going to win the Heisman. And I have no idea how this has worked out, but we've made it to the Big Ten championship. Of the 4 teams that were tied for 2nd place, apparently we had the tiebreaker. No clue what it was. But that's extremely helpful, especially since some of these other Heisman finalists, like Washington's quarterback, aren't going to be able to play in another game. We are going to have to face Oregon in back-to-back weeks, though. We literally just beat them. But even if they know exactly what we're going to do, I don't know if they can stop it. We've already driven inside the red zone versus them. I don't know why they're leaving Sharp open, but I'm very thankful for it. It's like they want us to win this game. Don't put them in one-on-one coverage. We can very easily just use a quarterback sneak to get in now. And Russell Bitonio's trying to pad his stats. I was really thinking this would be a competitive game after the one that we just played against the Ducks, but it has been far from that. We're about to go up 28-0. And this is great news for us. I think we're going to be a very hard team to beat in the playoffs. Look at Westfall's speed. I mean, playing like this is practically guaranteeing ourselves a first-round bye. I don't see how there could be 4 conference champions rated above us, and Clay gets this jet touch pass. If Russell Bitonio really wants to lock in that Heisman Trophy, though, let's get one more touchdown with him. And if we can get some man-to-man coverage, it is going to come right here on this play because our tight end is just better. Even though he was the lower overall, starting Zach Avant was the best thing I could have done. And there's a new record for Russell Bitonio, the most touchdowns he's had all year. It was for a good cause, that Big Ten championship trophy. And also, most likely, the Heisman Trophy trophy just seeing his stats. This is the first time I've seen them. I didn't realize he had 53 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. The Heisman was going to be his no matter what we did. And just because we're a highly ranked team, we're going to get the best tight end award with Zach Avant, only 550 receiving yards though. That award caught me a bit off guard because normally you only get that if you're at like number 1 or number 2. But maybe he deserved it. This is only passing touchdowns as well. So Russell Bitonio also had 7 rushing touchdowns, 60 total touchdowns before the playoffs. And I think this is the first time in a rebuild that there have been 4 different receivers that had double-digit touchdown catches. This has been an incredible year so far. I'm also a pretty big fan of our side of the bracket. But in order to make sure our defensive line plays as good as they should, we are going to make sure that this tactician tree is full. It's going to boost stuff like power moves, hit power, tackle, play recognition, and ideally, Cal's going to have no time back there in the pocket against us. If we're able to get through them, we'll play the winner of Oklahoma and Buffalo. It's probably going to be the Sooners. But now's not the time to look that far ahead. We've gotten Michigan State back to the college football playoffs, where our team overall feels too low to win a national championship, but you never know. I think it's really going to come back to our defense. Offensively, we're not going to get much better than this. And I've stayed away from running the football, but it doesn't matter because we can still get in. I don't like how we haven't been able to stop Cal yet, though. On 3rd down, I'm throwing that literally straight to him. I stared him in the eyes, hit the button, and then said, here, have a touchdown. The computer gets me every time they run man-to-man coverage, and then they have this dude over here that just hangs out. It would have gone over 53's head. But let's just say that's not the start that we were needing. We are down 28-7, and this has to be placed perfectly for a touchdown. I really wish getting stops wasn't impossible for our defense, but even after scoring 21 points in the first half, we're going to be losing 35-21. There's literally zero room for error. This is man-to-man coverage deep against our tight end. He's going to have to come back and secure catch, which was a great start to the second half. It led to a touchdown, but that was the last time that we scored. Ever since then, we have really been struggling. I'm hoping that we can throw something up here or scramble for a lot with Bitonio. He's going to try and make this kid miss, but I just hate how much they've been able to expose our defense, and this throw has got to be caught. It's not the time to have accuracy issues, especially since our defense showed up better in this second half. And it's about time we hand this off to Shelley, get it back within 3, and trust them to get us the ball again. Here we go. With 6 minutes left, they are on a 3rd and 9. It's what we were looking for. They're going to throw it short, and I am extremely thankful that their offense has slowed down compared to the first half. What we're looking for now is some cover 2 so we can split it deep. That is ideally a perfect world, what's going to get us down the field. But I think my aggressiveness to force it like that is also what's caused us to be in this position. We're going to try and escape the pressure right here. There is no way that we get a touchdown out of this. But we've set ourselves up nicely. Man-to-man coverage. Our zig route gets clamped. I'm just going to throw it to Sharp off of the slant next time. There's no way that they can contain him. But I almost sold right there as well. 3rd time's the charm. He's going to hang on. I can't believe that it took us this long to figure out how to stop them on defense, but we have clamped up in the second half. They're going nowhere. They're going to have to punt it. And in my opinion, since our offense has been on fire recently, they shouldn't be doing it, especially since that punt was so short. I thought we were going to have an easy path to the semifinals, whether we played Cincinnati or Cal. That was not the case. And it makes me wonder how we're going to do in the next round. I was hoping the play action could fake them out a little bit. Our playmaker, though, could end this game right here. Sharp runs under the football. And even if California gets the ball back after this, they're going to have no timeouts. Here we go. 3rd and 7. Touchdown would definitely do it, though we're going to kick our 3. Never mind. They forced a fumble. Until we got a sack versus them, I was genuinely worried that we were about to choke this. They're going to be on a 4th and 15. And I don't expect them to pick this up. I'm ready for that route that they're going to throw, but that's on my user. They've broken free. There is no way I've blown this. They're even hitting the gritty on us. I feel terrible. But you know what? I am built for moments like this. We have a receiver that is built for moments like this. Why they were pressing him, don't know. Why it was that easy to get that clean of a release, don't know, but we're going to take it. Now this time when they try to score in the final 25 seconds, I'm staying on a linebacker, though that's not helping us either. So I guess I'm going to learn defensive line. They've thrown for over 500 yards, 5 touchdowns against us. I can't even use the defensive line correctly. We better not choke this game versus them. I'm trying to generate some pressure. We almost got the sack, and I think we have survived. Thank goodness we're getting in pressure fast. They couldn't even get off the Hail Mary. That was a very high scoring second round game. But you have to think, has it been our defense that's won us all of our matchups this season, or has it been our offense and our Heisman winning quarterback? It shouldn't have taken 556 passing yards to get to the semifinals, but we're playing Buffalo. And how have we gotten this lucky? They doubled the score against number 3 Oklahoma. Maybe we should be worried about facing the Bulls. Every time we play a low overall team, I'm caught off guard. I just can't imagine that they're going to be able to hold our receivers who have been dominating. Sure enough though, I was wrong. They have a lead in the second quarter. We're not on the same page. And I don't know why every game has to be difficult. It'd be so nice if we could just get some easier wins throughout the year. My hope is as this one goes on, they forget that we could just go up top over and over. But that ball was placed so weirdly, so we got hit with a penalty. It cost us literally no yards, but that was what I was hoping we could do against the Bulls, is just get those huge passes. I'm going back to Drake's side of the field right here. He is going to have the speed to run by the corner, and I'm hoping that we can just pull away from this moment. That was not what happened though. With 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter, they have a chance to take a lead versus us. I left him open, and they should have had a touchdown right there. That was terrible defense. They're now at the 5. Things seem to be okay though. It's going to be hard for them to get in right here. I think we're getting the sack, and we haven't lost our lead since we took it, but they've gotten it closer. Running the ball hasn't been as easy as I thought it would either, though right here we had the hole to get the first. And I think I have a little obsession with just throwing up a bunch of deep balls, so that's what I was hoping to go for right here. Instead though, on the run, we connected with Drake. This offense is a ton of fun to play with. We should have a touchdown if they weren't clamping us for an interception so tightly. And this is literally where we might end up losing. They only need a field goal if they want to take a lead versus us. It's going to be 4th and 1, assuming they're short. They're going to run it, and we have a guy over there, but he missed his tackle. So here we go. We'll see if they get in field goal range or not. Taking the drag gets them closer. It's almost time to dial in the blitz. I've gotten caught, and I'm not sure this is going to work for us. They're going to throw us an interception out of it. We're going to stay in bounds, and if we take this back, we're still going to be okay because we're going to go up 2 possessions. That was not what I thought would happen there. I thought if anything, we'd get a sack. But the pressure flustered their quarterback. It's nice to know we can do that more. I think that's something we have to take with us into the national championship. And after all this time, it's going to be against another conference opponent, USC. The Big Ten's been tough. It's why we're able to have 3 losses, still win our conference, and also be a top 6 team. And the Trojans are in the same boat as us, ranked even higher. I know this is going to be competitive. It's only year 4 of this rebuild though. We don't even need to win it this season. We still have another. And there's a chance that we're going to be going for back-to-back championships if we play well. To start this game on offense, we've driven down the field. We're going to go over to our number 1 receiver where he brings it in. And there is just something about this USC defense that is panicking at the thought of stopping Tavares Sharp. I'm not sure they can get back to the ball on our next drive. He is not gonna be caught. That is the perfect way to open up this game. But we missed an extra point for no reason. On a 3rd down, we're just gonna keep getting it to Sharp. And I know he's gonna be a 1st-round pick after the performance he's had in the playoffs. Taking a sack there, though, was a terrible idea. It's gonna make it much harder to move the chains. But our receivers seem to catch a lot more than they should. We're trying to escape the pocket on 3rd and 6. And I knew if we didn't get out of there, I wanted to make it right down the middle for an easy field goal. We'd score again after that. With the way our defense is playing, this is not going to be a competitive national championship. And to think if we score on this drive, it's basically over, I might as well just send this up and see if our best receiver can make another play. Tavares Sharp is cooking this corner at the moment with this comeback route. Enough time back there, he could have had another. But that's not going to stop us from continuing to feed it to him, as right here, he hangs on. This is the best receiver in the country. And it's safe to say that we deserve to win this national championship. I have noticed as I've gotten better at this game, I'm able to win championships in 4 years instead of 5, which adds a whole other level to these 5-year rebuilds. I tried to make it more challenging by only recruiting out of Ohio and Michigan, but we still won it all. There's a couple players trying to leave for the NFL. Ben Brown is going to come back for another season, and there is no chance that we're going to get Tavares Sharp for another year. That's very understandable though. I could also see players like Burnett going into the NFL. And even though I've completed all the challenges in this video, we still have another season. Even without Sharp, my goal is to go back to back. And that's literally what I built this team for. I didn't even get to move these speed rushers over to our defensive line yet. Those players are going to help us shoot up to a 91 overall, though we've gotten much higher overalls in some other rebuilds. And I think part of the reason for that is we haven't maxed out the tactician tree, but we can still encourage some of the lower overalls to transfer. On top of that, I have a few more coach points to spend, so we're going to see if our overall can get any higher than it is already. And going into this final season, we are a 94 with an 88 overall quarterback, a running back that's a 90 overall, 360 is an ability, and then on the receiving side of things, George Drake is the number 1. If last year's team won a national championship, this year's team should have no problems repeating that, though there are a couple hard games on the schedule. And I'm very surprised to see that the former Heisman winner is not projected to win it again. Since I've already completed every challenge in this video, I'm just gonna sim straight to the playoffs, and if we make it there, then I'll start to play those games. And sure enough, we went 11-1. We did lose a game to Penn State, but outside of that, we beat everybody else in our schedule, including Michigan. In the Heisman Trophy race, you're gonna see that Russell Bitonio's made his way up there, but he's projected to lose it, and that's because he hasn't had a first-round pick to lean on. I think this game is worth hopping into, though. We worked hard to rebuild Michigan State. Now we need another Big Ten championship. But I clearly did not realize how good we had it last season, because we're struggling here. We've only scored 0 points until this play. And for whatever reason, this team is not performing the same in sim. The good thing about being able to play, though, is I'm hoping I can help us pull off this comeback. And I know for a fact that they can knock it away with pressing a 98 speed receiver. We've already gone over to Webb once, and we'll do it again. Mike Webb has been our solution in this game. I tried to knock it out, we did. And all of these players that we've recruited over the years are starting to come up big for us. We're not able to get out of there. But I have a feeling with the catching abilities on this team, we're going to be able to just sling this up, hopefully come back, make the catch for it, and they knocked it out. Right now, I'm actually more concerned about winning a Big Ten championship than a national championship. I don't know what they thought they were doing with that coverage. But this game has not stopped going back and forth. They tied things up with 30 seconds left. And I was thinking that we'd close this one out pretty easily, but we might be going to overtime. There's only one type of route that can prevent that now, and they have sacked us, which puts us in this position. Both of us scored on our first drive. On their second drive, though, they're settling for 3. And that's really just an odd decision. A touchdown wins us this game. You know that we're going to go for it, and right off of the line, we've beat them deep. It might have been closer than I thought it would be, but at least we won. And there could be a back-to-back Heisman Trophy coming too. I feel like I've made Michigan State as good as they're going to get. But apparently we didn't have what it took to win the Heisman again. Now, I have to assume there's a reason for that, especially if we're winning the best running back. We've also had some defensive awards pop up. Even our strong safety had one. And what it comes down to is not interceptions. Russell Bitonio has only thrown 1 all season. Just 30 passing touchdowns, though, is not enough. 3 rushing on the ground. And our receiving stats look atrocious when you compare them to last year as well. That's some big time regression. Also, Buffalo is on our side of the bracket again, and there's a chance we face them as long as we get past Nebraska. I'm expecting by the 4th quarter of this game that we have a 17-point lead, but that didn't happen. We're only up by 5 points. We are on a very big 3rd and 5 where we have fumbled it straight to them. Luckily, they weren't able to get any points out of that, but we've done nothing in this game since that moment either. They have it back with about a minute and a half left, and we have the Cornhuskers on a 4th and 7. We could get them off of the field right here, which we do with Boone, so we're moving on to the semis. The team that finished with a better record than last year's team is not doing as well, though, and we didn't get lucky 2 seasons in a row. We have to play the Hurricanes. On the other side of the bracket, though, I'm pretty sure last year it was also NC State and USC. So if we get past Miami, it'll be interesting to see who we play in the championship. By the 4th quarter of this one, we're actually trailing by 3, and I'm going for it on a 4th and 3, where scrambling seemed like the best option. You combine that with a holding penalty and a sack that our defense got to put the Hurricanes on a 3rd and 26, and we're going to be getting the ball back as well. Even though we'd score another touchdown after that, though, so did Miami, so it's not over. And the only way to end this game, moving on to the national championship, would be to pick up this 3rd and 7, where I went with the deep shot, and they've knocked it out. We have an ability where that shouldn't happen. I'm going for it on 4th down. I really don't care. We've already won our first championship. It's out of reach into an interception. Can we please not give up a touchdown here? Okay, I might have just blown this. Maybe this team isn't as perfect as I'd like them to be. They've left our running back open in the flat. He has nowhere to go. And that was a waste of 30 seconds. Not sure what I was thinking right there. Though with a playmaker, we're going to have to come back, catch this ball, which we do, and now we're down to the 25. We're still going to close this game out the right way and make sure that we move on to the championship. I don't worry about that. But I think our outlook in that matchup could be pretty rough the way we've played. This one should not be coming down to the wire the way that it is. They've left our running back open, and Miami made it super easy to close this out. Here's our final challenger, though, USC, the team that could stop the back-to-back. And it's honestly just incredible that we're meeting in the championship again. This should be another win, but we saw how close the last 2 were. And I know I was playing more of those games last year, but I find it so weird how we can't beat anybody. If I'm not there to help close it out, this team would not be going for back-to-back championships. And even then, it's not a guarantee. We still have to finish off this drive where I'm not making a read. I am throwing this ball up, and watching us go for the highlight touchdown grab. That was an incredible catch from Drake. It makes up for some of his other bad plays. But we have to trust our defense to make sure that we win back-to-back championships, and they're giving up big passes. USC still has 28 seconds. They've been able to thread the needle. And this is the type of game that I thought we were going to get last year, though they've made a mistake. They were pressing our fastest receiver, and they should have the interception. That was it right there. No back-to-backs if that went their way, though we might have the fade route, and it looks like Alaka is going to break free. This kid's come out of nowhere and just been a stud. It took more effort than I thought I was going to have to give, but we have won back-to-back championships. And this has to go down as the most successful, the winningest 5-year rebuild I've had on College Football 25. We finished with 50 wins, 21 losses, with a quarterback that's not anything compared to some of the other ones we've had. But in 2028, Russo Batonio tore things up. 65 passing touchdowns, another 8 on the ground. And that's why it's a shame that he didn't even have a chance to get drafted into the NFL. That's going to do it for this 5-year rebuild, though. If you're a Michigan State fan, I hope you enjoyed it, and if you made it this far, you might as well watch some of my other rebuilds.